So, do you know what your rights are when it comes to the police arresting a person? Are the police required to have an arrest warrant or not? So, today I'm going to go into part two of your rights to request a warrant from the police, especially when it comes to the police trying to arrest a person. So, stay tuned. So I am criminal defense attorney Hannah Akintoye, and today I am going to share what your rights are when it comes to the police arresting either you as a person or somebody that you know. It's really important that you understand when the police are required to have an arrest warrant and then also when they're not required to. So in a previous video, I went into some very important definitions. So I'm going to do a quick overview of what those definitions are. So number one, what is a warrant? A warrant is a legal document that is signed off by a judge that gives the law enforcement or law enforcement officers the authority to either search a person, place, or thing, or arrest an individual. And then I also discussed why the police are required to get a warrant. And I talked a little bit about your Fourth Amendment rights, your right from unreasonable searches and seizures, and why the Constitution requires that the police go through certain parameters before they just barge into your residence or your vehicle or any of your personal belongings. And that also includes arresting you. An arrest of your person, right, of your body is a constitutional violation if the police don't do it right. And so that is also encompassed in the Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution. I also discussed in part one how the police get the warrant, and that simply requires that the police establish through an affidavit that they have probable cause to arrest a person or to search a particular location or place. And when it comes to arresting a person, the police have to basically outline to a judge why they have a reason to believe that they have probable cause. So why they believe that you have committed a crime and why it is that you should be arrested for that particular crime. And so probable cause in the sense of arrests or arrest warrants requires that the police have knowledge and reason to believe that you specifically, or whoever is outlined in that warrant, committed a crime, or that a crime is currently being committed by that person. And that would give law enforcement officers the ability to then request a warrant from the judge, and subsequently the warrant would be signed off by the judge before they can actually execute it. An execution of a warrant is essentially that they just go ahead and do what the warrant says. So if it's a search warrant, they search. If it's an arrest warrant, they arrest the person, or they're locating a person to be arrested. Now, when it comes to arrest warrants, this is really important for you to know. There are situations when the police are required to have an arrest warrant, and there are situations where they're not required to have an arrest warrant. Specifically, when they are required to get an arrest warrant, it occurs in situations where a person cannot immediately be located. And so what the police have to do is apply for that arrest warrant in order to arrest the person. So let me give you an example of this. If the police are outside, right, and they see Susie, the suspect, and Susie, the suspect, shoots Victoria, the victim, right? And the police are actually watching this and observing this. They can tell and they can see that Susie committed a crime, and so they'll go ahead and arrest her on sight. But let's say Susie, the suspect, gets away, and the police officers can't catch up to her because she runs really, really fast. And if Susie, the suspect, gets away, they don't know where she can be located. And in that particular situation, they wouldn't just be able to arrest her on sight because she's not there. They have to apply for an arrest warrant. Now, this is usually really important when you are trying to arrest somebody, for instance, in a residence. And so let's say the police have reason to believe that Susie, the suspect, is hiding in the basement of cousin Cody, right? Her cousin's basement. And Cody is housing Susie in the basement, and they can't just enter Cody's residence and just go ahead and arrest Susie. They have to have an arrest warrant that says, hey, we have a document that's signed off by a judge that says that we can enter this home and arrest this person. And so if the police show up at a residence and they say, hey, look, we have an arrest warrant for this person, they can go ahead, enter that residence, and immediately arrest the person that is the subject of the arrest warrant. Now, it's very, very important that you understand what goes into a warrant, because I talked about what goes into a search warrant in my previous video, but what goes into an arrest warrant? Well, in an arrest warrant, it should identify the person to be arrested. And when it identifies that person, that means that the police have established that that person has committed a crime or is presently committing a crime, and therefore that person should be arrested. That doesn't mean that the police can arrest the suspect's accomplice, right, or the person that helped them, if they don't have a separate arrest warrant for a separate individual. So an arrest warrant can encompass one thing, or it can encompass multiple things. It can encompass an arrest and a search at the same time, but specifically when it comes to arrest, it has to identify the person by name. Usually it will also have descriptors. It should say the nationality of the person, the date of birth, the approximate age and height of the person, any marks. So do you have tattoos or certain marks or scars on your body? Whatever it is that the police are able to use to identify the person that is the subject of the arrest warrant, it should be in there. That way, if an arrest warrant has John Smith, God knows there's so many John Smiths in this world, we're not arresting the wrong person. We have specific information, dates of birth, and descriptions that identify this person with specificity to make sure that they're at the right place arresting the right person. When it comes to arrest warrants, what is really important to know that if it is not an emergency situation, so if it is not a situation for, back to my example, if it's not a situation where Susie the suspect runs into a residence and then the police are like banging on the door trying to get her, that's an emergency. Because in the scenario that I gave, Susie the suspect was seen by officers shooting another individual. So if she were to have immediately ran into a residence, in that situation it does seem like it would be an emergency, and the police may be allowed to enter that residence to arrest that particular suspect. But if Susie the suspect gets away and they're not sure where she is, they can't just start barging into everybody's home along the way. They have to get that arrest warrant to arrest that person, because it's no longer an immediate emergency. It is now a situation where the officers are going based upon information and belief. They have reason to believe that a person is located at a certain place, and therefore they're asking for that particular arrest warrant. Now, an arrest warrant gives the police the authority to arrest you on site. So, if you're out in the grocery store and there is an arrest warrant for you, you're going to be arrested. Or if you go into a government, let's say you go into a government building where sometimes they ask you for your ID. There are usually law enforcement officers there, and they may have copies of all the outstanding warrants in the city. And in those situations, you can also be arrested. So it's really important that if you think that there is an arrest warrant out for your arrest, you talk with an attorney first, so that the process is so much more simpler, and that it's not as dramatic as them barging into your home, breaking down your doors, just to arrest a person or just to arrest you. So I hope that clarifies when the police are required to have a warrant to arrest a person. If you haven't checked out part 1, make sure that you do check out part 1, where I discuss when the police need a warrant to search a person, a place, or a thing. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment them below, or you can message me on my website, mydclaw.com, and I'm always happy to chat with you further. As always, take care and stay safe.